Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is what we're going to call a chain reaction report. So, for the benefit of those on TikTok, this will be broken up into more than one video. But for the rest of you, we're going to talk tonight because I'm kind of tired of the narrative I'm seeing on social media. You know, where we have someone go on and call Donald Trump's speech divisive. And we're not enemies, okay? Americans are not enemies. And then you have someone else chime in and say, well, what about Joe Biden's speech? That was divisive too. So we're going to talk about all of that tonight because that's patently wrong. We do have a divide in this country, and there's a reason for it, okay? And it isn't because these people's speech is divisive. These speeches are divisive. Donald Trump's speech and the people that he has normalized, this speech isn't just divisive. It is bordering on violent. And I'm going to read some of these to you tonight so you understand exactly where we are in America. And by the way, I want to say right off the top, the notion that any of us should commune with fascists and people who want to say terrible things about people who are from a different ethnic origin or who are gay and lesbian or transgender. Any notion that we can bury the hatchet and see eye to eye should be off the table. When you have fascism and when you have oppression like that, you fight back. You do not try to make nice. Maybe that's what you all want to do because it's so much more pleasant when you pretend that we can get along here. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump, from the minute he was elected, opened Pandora's box in this country, and we were a much better country when these people were under wraps. But now the fucking genie is out of the fucking bottle, okay? I'm not sure there's any way to put it back in, but I will tell you this. Voting out every member of the GOP, as many of them as you can, this particular version of the GOP is dead on arrival. They are irretrievable. They cannot be fixed. Those who don't even think this way don't even talk back and push back. They are enablers. They need to go for the good of this nation. So let's start right here. Nicholas Fuentes. For those of you who don't know him, he's a little punk who used to go to school at Boston University. And literally the students drove him out of the school after he came back from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in 2019. Because Nicholas Fuentes has some choice words, and I'm going to read some to you right now. Quote, a lot of women want to be raped. A lot of women really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But part of it is they have to pretend they don't. End quote. Divisive? Calling that divisive? Yeah, that's cute. Here's another one. Quote, if we're going to make America great again, we've got to talk about this anti-white thing that's going on. We've got to make America a Christian nation again. And you can understand why influential Jewish people in conservative media are not really gung-ho about that. They're not promoting white identity. They're not promoting this. End quote. They're not promoting this because there is no white genocide going on. The white man in this country is not in any fucking danger. That's a right-wing construct. Here's another one from Nick Fuentes. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. This guy's awesome. This guy's cool. End quote. Now, I've heard a lot of people say things about Nick Fuentes like, why are you saying things back to him? He's just looking for attention. Nicholas Fuentes is not just looking for attention. He has a group that he collects money through. He collects thousands of dollars. He travels around the country and he talks shit all day long. He is a white nationalist, a racist, and a bigot who has said that we need a dictatorship to make everybody think and act the way we want them to. Do you people really understand what's going on here? Are these the kind of people you want to unite? The people who follow him and buy into him, the groypers, you want us to unite with them? Give me a break. Are you serious? These are the people you push back on. These are not the people you unite with and think that you can have some kind of common ground. Let's move on here. Chaya Raychick. I don't even know where they dug this broad up, okay? She's from the libs of TikTok, but she's not a lib, all right? What she is a homophobe and a transphobe. This is Chaya's brilliant insight. Quote, the LGBT community has become this cult, and it's so captivating, and it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen. And they brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things, and it's really, really hard to get out of it, end quote. I'm a lesbian. I'm not in a cult. Do you want to know what my agenda is? My agenda is for me to be able to live my life free of people like her. You aren't gay? Then don't be gay. No one's pulling you into a cult. People didn't pull me into a cult and make me gay. I've been gay since I was a young child. I was gay in the fucking womb. I didn't have a choice because it is not a lifestyle choice. It is a sexual orientation. A cult. And this is what she goes on to say further. They're just evil people, and they're out to groom kids. They're recruiting. Nobody's recruiting your kids. There are teachers recruiting your kids. There are people like me recruiting your kids. And by the way, I'm a lesbian, and I live with a transgender daughter. And she is terrified to live here, okay? Because of shit talk like this. Divisive. Here, let's have some more divisive. Michael Knowles. He writes for the Daily Wire. He's another right-wing talking head. He was at CPAC this year, and he said, quote, for the good of society, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level. Then he went on to defend what he was saying, because Rolling Stone magazine said he was calling for the elimination of transgender people. But of course, Michael Knowles gaslights, just like every other right-winger I know. It says he wasn't calling for that. He was talking about the ideology. You know what? We all know what Michael Knowles was talking about. Okay? You can't split hairs like that here. You're either transgender or you're not transgender. Transgender isn't an ideology. It's not an ideology that's foisted upon people. Okay? It's a realization that people come to that is part of their life. Just like being gay. We all know what Michael Knowles was calling for. All right? And when you get to this point where you're talking like this, the leap to genocide isn't all that far. I'm so sick of the people and the enablers just continuing this crap. I really am. Let's talk about Kanye West, the Grammy-winning rap star. As if that's an excuse for anything he does. This is Kanye. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I can't be anti-Semitic because black people are Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. The Jewish agenda, being able to live, maybe that's what their agenda is. They're not recruiting people either. He also went on Alex Jones and said that Hitler was a great guy. He had something to offer everyone. And he also denied the Holocaust. Kanye West is an anti-Semite. I'd like to remind you that the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, invited Kanye West and Nicholas Fuentes to Mar-a-Lago for dinner. And then, of course, he claimed he didn't really know them, or he didn't really know Nicholas Fuentes. By the way, let me also remind you that Kanye West has announced his run for the presidency. Now, I know there's probably no chance that he's ever going to get elected, but the fact that people like him can even run after making statements like this is disgusting to me. Let's move on here. Tara Carr. She's a select woman from Brookfield, Connecticut. And we had the whole Bunch of bullshit about the Chinese spy balloon. This is what she said about Joe Biden after the whole balloon thing blew over. Quote, he's aiding and abetting the enemy. Ready, aim, fire. One shot, one kill. That simple. This is actually a politician in a state literally suggesting that we assassinate Joe Biden. She was taken off of Twitter, but no repercussions in her state whatsoever from any of the other politicians. We just let this shit ride like it's second nature here, because right now it is second nature here. Why? Because people want to unite. We want to be all together like one big happy family on this planet. Bullshit. I have absolutely no intention of uniting with people who follow these people. I'm not interested. Here's Trump on his looming indictment in Manhattan. They're coming for me. This was in an email. By the way, he's worried about getting indicted, but he didn't have any problem sending out an email to fundraise off his indictment, which is yet to happen, by the way. They're coming for me. District attorneys handpicked and personally funded by George Soros. George Soros, the big boogeyman that the right wing likes to blame for just about everything. He's what, 90-something years old now? George Soros isn't funding the Manhattan District Attorney's office. That's a lie. But then again, Donald Trump is a proven pathological liar who told 30,573 lies over 4 years. I don't think anybody's even that close. Although if we leave George Soros in office for a couple of more years, he couldn't come close to that. And then he went on Truth Social and he posted this: corrupt and highly political Manhattan DA's office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros. Most of that statement makes absolutely no sense because it's Donald Trump. But he's back on the Soros thing, and he's back on the Soros thing as a funding agent for the Manhattan District Attorney's office, something that is absolutely patently false. Philanthropists don't fund government operations, okay? Then we have Pete Santilli. This was on Truth Social. He's another right-wing talking head. So this is what Pete Santilli suggests, if indeed Trump is indicted. Line up Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and Susan Rice against the wall and execute them all. I'm not sure what Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and Susan Rice had to do with the indictment of Donald Trump. If Donald Trump is indicted, it's because he committed a crime. These things get investigated. Sometimes they result in an indictment. He's facing indictment in Georgia. He is facing indictment on the documents case. He is facing indictment for January 6, 2021. And by the way, let's talk about January 6, 2021. Let's talk about Kevin McCarthy handing over 6,000 hours of security footage to Tucker Carlson at Fox News, potentially exposing the Capitol building and its entire construction to more right-wingers after, of course, they took down all of the metal detectors as soon as they took power in the House. And Tucker Carlson is now out there paying little 6-second snippets to make it look like it was something peaceful. You know what you were looking at on January 6th, okay? If you have a problem and you don't get to see all of the footage from Tucker Carlson, I'll put it in this video because ProPublica has all of the video shot by the perpetrators themselves. And they did a hell of a job putting it together. And I am going to put that in here so you can see exactly what happened. On January 6, 2021, Donald Trump invited white supremacists, anti-Semites, militias like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and the Three Percenters to enter the Capitol and to do harm to people. They went in with zip ties. They had bear spray. They beat policemen, 150 policemen injured. They beat them with sticks. They beat them with their own weapons. They bear sprayed them in the face. There was blood everywhere. You heard the testimony of some of the women, of one of the women who was there as a guide, watching her colleagues bleed on the ground. The people that Donald Trump has enabled are fascists. They're traitors to this country. They are not somebody that we need to unite with. The people who are passing laws in states denying gender-affirming care to children and adults now, it seems. Some states are banning it outright, like Oklahoma. Some states are saying, well, now you can't have any care until you're 26 years old. This is none of the government's business. This is absolutely none of the government's business. But you want me to commune with these people. I live in the state of Massachusetts, and I'm very happy that I do. I am. Because my child is in a good state for this. But all it would take would be one MAGA Republican governor to ruin that. And I need people to understand that. Now let's talk about Donald Trump, who tried to overthrow the government so he could stay in power. And let's talk about Joe Biden's speech being divisive. Joe Biden's speech was telling the truth about what is happening here in America. If that offends you, tough. The MAGAs in this country are here to do damage. They want to return this country to 1776. I'm not willing to go back there as a woman or as a gay person. Now, maybe none of you are gay, maybe most of you are white, and maybe a lot of you are men. And so, especially if you're men, you're not threatened by any of this. And I rest my case right there. It's easy for all of you to say, let's unite. We're not enemies. We have enemies here. All of the people who were at January 6th, they're my enemies. They're an enemy to democracy. Joe Biden is bound as president of this country to defend democracy. And that's what he did in his speech. He wanted to make sure everybody understood what was going on here. That is his responsibility as president of the United States. It wasn't a speech made for political purposes. Neither was his speech that was the State of the Union speech that called out the GOP for exactly what it was. People need to get a clue here. If you can't see what's going on here, I feel sorry for you. I absolutely do. Because, you know, you remember that old adage from Pastor Niemoller from the time of Nazi Germany. First, they came for the journalists. Remember that one? I don't have the whole thing in my head, so I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to make a mockery of it. But someday, some way, this will come for you too. People better understand this. I am absolutely not willing to break bread with anybody on the right at this point. If you want to talk to me about conservative Republicans, when we can get back to conservative Republicans being rational, then we can discuss this. And for the record, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, they did the right thing. They absolutely did the right thing. Standing up and participating in the J6 committee. But I will tell you this, I agree with neither of them on any of their policies. I do not. And I would never vote for them. As such, I do respect what they have done. But I wish we could get back to having discussions on policy rather than trying to oppress people, because that's what America has become. We have become a country that is right now leaning on the precipice of fascism and dictatorship and right-wing authoritarian rule. Do not think this is a joke. It happened in Italy. Voter turnout was low. They just elected the first fascist since Benito Mussolini. In Nazi Germany, the people who were living there at the time were considered intelligent and in tune and in touch, and they had their heads turned by a fascist dictator who then went on to exterminate 6 million Jews, and not just Jewish people, gay people, Christians. We have a governor down in Florida now who has banned books like The Diary of Anne Frank, the story of Roberto Clemente. He has taken books off the shelves in classrooms until he personally approves them. He has also instituted those don't say gay laws, which now they are expanding up to the 12th grade. He is refusing to allow slavery to be taught. We have Kevin McCarthy, who sold out the House of Representatives and the U.S. government to win a gavel by ceding his power to everybody on the far right. And we now have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is actually the de facto Speaker of the House. Kevin McCarthy is totally neutered. He must not be returned to office. And now what is he doing? In the wake of Donald Trump's impending indictment, he's running interference for him. We have Jim Jordan in there right now, conducting an oversight committee that is of the most colossally outrageous ridiculousness I've ever seen. He is wasting taxpayer dollars on a regular basis. And now he's demanding that Alvin Bragg, the district attorney of Manhattan, come in and testify to him. You know what? I have some bad news for Jim Jordan. He has no business meddling in a criminal investigation. He has absolutely no power to demand that. And we're talking about a man in Jim Jordan who refused the January 6th subpoena. But he wants everybody to run in and testify to him? Oh, I don't think so. Alvin Bragg is conducting a criminal investigation of Donald Trump, American citizen. And he is bound by no law to turn over any documents to Jim Jordan or to sit and testify in a joke of an oversight committee. The Congress has no power to indict or to coerce. None. We have Lauren Boebert, who misquotes the Constitution constantly, who's out there saying that the Bible runs the government. Religion runs the government. The government doesn't run religion. When it was very clear that the Founding Fathers believed wholeheartedly in the separation of church and state, she doesn't. She lost by 549 votes because Democrats were infighting over who was progressive enough to win. So the alternative was Lauren Boebert. I suggest you all wake up. But the notion that we are a together nation, we have never been a together nation. The difference is, before Donald Trump, these cretins that we see now who go to drag story hour loaded with AR-15s outside threatening these people, before these people came out of the woodwork, we were a better nation. They've always been there, but they were under wraps. And now they're right out there. And if we are not pushing back on this, then we are certainly complicit in what's going on here. So don't ask me, please, to break bread here and find a common ground with these people. I have no common ground with fascism. There is no common ground with fascism. And if you're thinking it can't happen here, remember this. The Germans thought that too. They were wrong, and you will be too. I'll talk to you later.